Hello and welcome to 3D Friday. This is a new tutorial, almost video blog spot for me. I'm going to be bringing a video to you hopefully every Friday where we will be going over some examples of 3D CAD exercises that I have just googled on my Chrome, and I will be going through a couple of these and I'll be building them in 3D in various CAD packages. So to start off with the most basic one, I'm going to go with AutoCAD 2014, but later on I will be planning to build these parts and more, or if you've got any suggestions and you want me to build a part that you've got and you want to create a 3D model, or want to know how to create a 3D model from the drawings that you have, send them in to me. The details will be in the information panel underneath this video. And also you'll be able to find out more from my website, which also will be in the panel underneath. So let's get started then. So let's grab this object, and what I plan to do is bring this into AutoCAD just by reading off the drawing and building it in 3D separately. So in AutoCAD, first thing I want to do is change to the 3D Basics layout. Okay, so this gives me the 3D tool set that I'm looking for. And before we start building it, it's wise to get an understanding of how a shape like this is made up. So we've got the main body, which is a rectangular pattern, rectangular geometry with a circle on top, which has been extruded backwards by 48mm. You've also got this other shape going through from one of the sides, from the left elevation, and technically you can build this all as one, or you can build them as two separate shapes and do it what they call a union. A union bonds them together as if they were one piece, a bit like welding something to another part. So let's just start off with this piece here, and you can see here that it's 44mm across, and it's 38mm up to that center where the circle is. So first of all, let's flip back to AutoCAD, and we want to create a rectangle. In the rectangle command, we need to place a point, and then down the bottom here it says area, dimension, or rotation. Well, we know the dimension, so the dimension will be 44 in one direction. I think it was 38. Yep, 38 in the other. So I'm zoomed out quite a bit, so let's zoom in a little bit fast. So you can see here it's the right orientation. I can create it in one of 4 quadrants, so I'll just build it there for a minute. And just to double check, I can type DI on the keyboard. That's the shortcut for distance, and I can confirm that's the 38 and that's the 44. Okay, so once I've got that, let's put a circle on the top. Circle, snap to the middle point to the outside, and that gives us a nice curve over the top. And that's pretty much all there is to this initial shape. Obviously there's a slot that needs to be removed, and the circle needs to be removed at some point. As there's no depth to the circle or the slot, we can assume that's going all the way through. My word of advice, or my pro tip for the day, I suppose, is when you're creating 3D geometry like this, it's much easier, and it normally takes a lot of the hassle out if we create the geometry all solid first, and then anything that needs to be cut out, do that afterwards. Oops. Let's just get rid of that. Keep the current theme. That's probably because my screen capture is hogging all the resources. Keep the theme. Don't show this message. Okay. So how far does it need to be extruded back? Well, it needs to be extruded back by 48. So let's go back to here. I'm going to hold the shift key down and the middle mouse button just to rotate my screen a little bit, so we can see that it is a three-dimensional environment. You can see here my X, Y, and Z indicator. And I'm going to click on extrude. This needs to load up some modules, so sometimes it's quick, sometimes it might hang for a little while it's on your machine doing this. I'm going to select all of these components, spacebar to extrude, and we want to extrude by 48. There we go. So this at the moment doesn't actually look that impressive because it's in wireframe mode. So up here we can change from 2D wireframe to conceptual, which although does look better, I find it's a little bit more difficult to work on, and it certainly slows the machine down. So I'm going to just turn that back to wireframe just so I know what I'm doing. Now in both 2D wireframe and conceptual, you can clearly see that these are two separate objects. So one of the key things that we want to do here is combine these together, and the way that we do that is with what we call the union command. So a union command takes two objects, like so, spacebar or enter, and turns them into one solid object. Okay, so that's our first part done. The next bit then is to cut this slot into the bottom here. So we've got this 32 by 15mm slot. When you draw a slot, you're starting off with a rectangle again, and you need to draw onto the top face. And providing you have dynamic UCS switched on, which is one of the tools down here, there he is, it's F6 on the keyboard. What that means is that if you hover over one of the faces, it uses that face as a origin plane, so it's what it's going to sketch onto. So we're going to sketch onto this top plane. You can position it directly where it needs to be, but I find it's more useful sometimes to put it in a place where it doesn't want to be, or it shouldn't be, and then move it into position. And the reason I do that is because sometimes you can position something where you think it is correctly positioned, only to find out later on it's not. So by putting it in the wrong location and moving it into the right location afterwards, it's giving you that positive reinforcement that you have moved it to the right location. So I'm just going to pop it there. Again, down here, D for dimension, so, or you can click on the shortcut in the command bar, so D on the keyboard, and my slot is 32 by 15. So 32 by 15. Let's put it in the right orientation. Again, I can put it in one of 4 quadrants, so just click on that one. And now I'm going to move it into position. So move this object, spacebar, from its midpoint to the midpoint of that line. There we go. And I'm going to extrude that through. There we go. And I can move this back. And obviously, if I know the depth, which I think was 48, I could put in 48, or I can go beyond that, because it doesn't actually matter if it's the same size or longer, as long as it's going all the way through the object, because that's what we're going to be using as a face, or sorry, a body, to cut away from the main part. And of course you can also snap to the nearest point at the back face of the object, and that will ensure that you are going all the way through the object. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so there's our two shapes again, and again if I move into conceptual, you can see again that it is two coexisting shapes. So I'm going to use our subtract tool. Okay, the subtract tool, there's a little pre-picture of what it does. It takes two objects. So again, you pick an object that you want to remove material from. So that's going to be this object. Spacebar or enter to move on, and then you pick the object you want to remove. So that's the object I want to remove, and there you go. There's our cutaway. Okay, so that bit's done. That bit I can safely do. That's easy enough to do, and you can see there that we can assume that that slot goes all the way back. Okay, so we've also got a hole going through the middle. Again, there's nothing to interfere with that hole that's going through. We don't have to stop it halfway through or anything like that. So there's nothing wrong with just putting a hole, or sorry, putting a circle there and extruding that back, and again doing the subtract method to remove that hole through the middle. So again, we're going to do that. Oh, before we do that, let's just find out what the dimension is. So the radius on the outside of that's 22, which of course is derived from the half value of the 44 diameter. I'm finding it hard to track this with my eyes. There we go. Yeah, the circle in the middle is diameter 22. Okay, so that's radius 11. So that's easy enough to do. All we need to do is go into here, bring up a circle. Again, make sure we're hovering over this face, so you can see that dotted outline. That means that we're sketching on this top face. If you hover over the edge of the circle, it should bring up the center point of the arc. There he is. Center, draw out, and you can see here that AutoCAD is automatically offering me the radius, and you can switch it down at the bottom here to diameter, or just D on the keyboard and put in the 22, but as we know that 11 is half of 22, we're just going to put in 11. That almost looks a little bit too small. Let me just double check that. Oh yeah, one of the other points to this video tutorial is that I don't want to edit out any sort of mistakes. So if I make mistakes, I want to show you how you can confirm if you have made a mistake, how to correct it as well. So just going in here, I'm picking this object, which strangely isn't populating with anything, and hopefully it will tell me somewhere along here. It's a 2D wireframe. Oh, I've not seen that before. Normally that would just come up as a circle. So obviously something's going wrong with that. So I'm going to remove that one and put it in the circle again. Okay, 11. That's not right. That's not right either. Okay. I wonder if that's some sort of problem with the fact that I'm using the screen recorder. I'm not sure, but it's not looking right. Let's just okay, let's remove it one more time. Put in a circle on the center. If by the way you're struggling to find the center, you can hold the shift key down, hit the right mouse button, and you can force it to find the center. Like so. There we go. And okay, what we're going to do is we're going to change it to diameter and change it to 22, which is what it was. Still saying it's very small. That circle looks much bigger on this paper. I mean, it could be that the original doesn't have the right scale, or doesn't look quite right, but you can see that that is 22 across. Not sure why that is. Okay, let's just look at it straight on. Okay, let's just try. That's 38. That's right. Okay, and let's just do the dimension between here and here is 22. Says it's right. Do you know what? I'm not going to argue with it. It obviously is right. AutoCAD thinks it's right. Not sure why our dimensions are off, or why this drawing looks so strange compared to ours. What I'm going to do is just check the diameter, or sorry, the radius that they've given here. Make sure we have got the right sizes. Okay, it's picking up the wrong side there. There you go, 22. Okay, yeah, so there you go. Our first lesson in copying stuff off the internet is what you see is not always what you should be getting, because that does not look like that. Oh well. Not quite sure why it wasn't showing me the full details in here, but I think when I first loaded up AutoCAD earlier, it did say I had a service pack outstanding, so it could be that there's a known issue with this, but we'll see. Okay, again, same trick as before. Extrude through to the back face and then cut it away. So what I want to cut away from and what I'm cutting. There you go. Doesn't look any different, but if I go into conceptual mode, you can clearly see I've got a nice big hole through the middle of this now. Okay, right. On to the next phase, because this bit is pretty much done. But what do we do about this block here? Okay, now you can build this in place, but it could cause us a few problems. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build this as a completely separate object, position it somewhere else on the screen, and then move it into position and then join them together. Now the only problem I'm going to foresee here is that when we push this into this object, okay, this object obviously is going to be solid through the middle of here, so where we've put our nice clean cut through hole here, there's going to be this hulking object passing through it. So it might be that we have to come back and re-drill this hole and also re-drill this slot. But the benefit of doing it the way that I have, I suppose, is that because we've already got this face and already got this slot cut away, we don't need to put the dimensions in again. We just put down another circle and another rectangle over the geometry that already exists, so it might be a little bit quicker. Okay, so let's build these shapes then. So let's orientate my object a little bit better. Okay, so that is, if I turn it to one side a minute, Oh, I don't like it when it does that. Okay, so that is the right way around. That's the front. If you can imagine, well, if you can imagine, if you were looking in, oops, bad example. There we go. If you were looking in that direction, you'd be seeing the front of the shape, and vice versa for the rear. Well, this is this side. So we're looking at one of the sides at the moment. We're actually looking at this left elevation at the moment. So we're going to create this shape in the right orientation and then position it where it needs to be. So let's start off with the basic outline. Again, it's 34 wide and it's 54 from top to bottom. So guess what tool I'm going to use? I'm going to use the rectangle tool. D for dimension. Oh wait, place a point first. D for dimension, and 34 by 54. Okay. Now, one of the problems I've come across here, and I've basically forgotten to make this happen the way it should happen, is that the AutoCAD environment. If I just place this a minute, I'll show you what I mean. The AutoCAD environment is doing what it should be doing, but it's drawing this shape only on the XY plane, which is the plane that you can see that this rectangle sat on at the moment. In fact, the grid line that you see in the background, that's the plane that it's sketching it onto. So by sketching onto, in effect, this face, let me just show you that face there. Okay. It's not able to create anything that goes in the Z direction, because there is no Z direction as far as it's concerned. It only understands two-dimensional geometry when you're creating two-dimensional geometry, which makes sense when you say it that way. So what we're going to do is we're going to sketch onto this plane. Same again, rectangle. There we go. And dimensions. And look at that. It's already remembered what I had last time around. So 34 by 54. And we'll put it there. Okay, so we can get rid of this one because we don't need it. Let's look at our left orientation. There we go. Let's just move this. M for move. Okay, so we've got our thing in the right location now. Okay, let's put the slot in. So the slot is 20 by 6. So again, rectangle. And we'll place it on this plane again. Dimension, and we want to go 20 by 6. There we go. Okay, the only problem here is that my rectangle is the wrong orientation, so I'm just going to move it again with M, and I'm going to grab it and I'm going to rotate it. Doesn't matter where I rotate it from, as long as you are rotating it by 90 degrees. Now you can see what's happening there. It's rotating it around the wrong axes. Okay, so if I just bring myself, there you go, see, let's orientating it around the Z axis, which is not what I want. So I'm going to leave that for the second. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to leave that. I'm going to remove the cut, because I did say earlier it's easier to create solid objects and then make the cuts afterwards, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to make the solid object first, and then we're going to do the cuts. So let's put in our size. So this object passes all the way through from one side to the other, and it happens to be 64 mil across. So let's extrude this by 64. There we go. So it's the right size. Let's look at the front of our object, and let's move this M again to move. I'm not normally an advocate of shortcuts, because obviously a video tutorial is not very good if I'm whizzing around on the keyboard and you can't really see what I'm pressing, but certain commands, certainly like M for move, we use CAD people, CAD users, CAD engineers, we do move so often. It's one of those commands it's worth knowing. So M for move, I'm moving it from its midpoint to this midpoint, and then I'm going to move it again from its midpoint, and I'm going to object snap off of this into its intersection. There we go, and that aligns it quite nicely. And let's just move around a little bit here. You can see that these objects are way off from each other. In fact, they're sat completely opposite each other. So what I want to do now is position this object So I'm going to orientate this around a little bit better so I can see what's going on, and I'm going to move it, if I can find the move button or M on the keyboard, and I'm going to find the midpoint of that, midpoint of that. No, it's not going to snap to that, is it? Okay, so let's just create some geometry for it to snap to. There we go. Okay, move. There we go. See, it's not really a cheat, it's just putting in some construction geometry. You can get rid of it once it's complete. So you can see now that this is dead center. If I look at it from all directions, hopefully it's smack bang in the middle of it, which it does look like it is. Okay, and all I'm going to do now is rejoin these parts. So I'm going to join them together so they become one object. And what you'll see is that when I turn on the solid object conceptual view, you can see that my hole on the top and my slot way has become filled, and obviously we'd need to cut them again, which is probably a little bit unwise for me to have put those in to begin with, but you know, we learn from there. So let's put those together, union. There we go, that's the two objects smashed together. Okay, next part then. So let's put these holes in and this slot way in. Okay, so our slot is 20 by 6. I should know that by now. Rectangle. Pop that there. Dimension 20 by 6. Oh, it's the right way around as well this time. Move this object from here to here. Now, when you do move it in this way, because I'm looking dead on the left orientation, you have to be a little bit careful that you're not picking the back face of the shape rather than the front face. So sometimes it is worth just rotating your screen to make sure you are picking the right face. I mean, I suppose in this one it doesn't actually matter because we could just extrude it the other way, but for later reference, if you wanted to do that, that's how you would do it. So again, extrude this slot all the way through to the back face and then cut it away. So subtract big object, cutting object. There we go, that's our cut. Next bit then is this hole. This hole is 20 diameter, it's 30 up, and it's on the center line. So 38 by 20. Okay, so circle, wherever he is, rectangle, circle on this face. I've forgotten the dimensions. You can tell it's late, can't you? I've looked at it just a second ago and I've forgotten already. So diameter 20. So D for diameter. 20 or 22? 20. There we go. And if I want to know where the center is, I hover over this face until the lines become dotted. Put up a center line. Turn on my polar snap so I'm snapping to 90 degrees. There we go. And I'm going to put this on it. But before I do that, I want to know how far up this needs to be. So this needs to be 38mm up. So a nice easy way to do this is go in this direction by 38 from the bottom and then put a line down. So where those two lines cross, that's the point where this center of the circle should be. So I can pick it up by its hot point, hot grip even, and you can see there's a point of intersection. There we go. Once you're happy with that, escape to unselect it. Ooh. And then grab your lines and remove them. So we've got a nice centered circle where it should be. Again, I'm going to extrude that through. Okay, I'm going to make this one much bigger, only because I mean I could snap to this bit, but I just want to show you what happens. It makes no difference because we're using this as a sort of cookie cutter to cut a material away. So what we're going to do again is subtract big object and then my little object. There we go, and there is my cut through. And if I turn this into a conceptual, there you go, there's my shape. Okay, so this is starting to come together quite nicely now. Our side profile is actually pretty much there. I just need these two top holes. My front face is near enough there. I just need to redo these holes and circles. So I'm going to do that now because that's nice and easy to do because we've already got the geometry in place. So again, circle on this face, and I'm going to do a bit of a cheat. Right click, shift, center. There you go. It's picked up on that face there. In fact, what I could do is click on there. There he is. And I'm going to pick on this quadrant. You can see it's picked up the size automatically for me. And then I'm going to grab that circle, extrude it all the way through, and then subtract it. So big object, cutting face. There we go. So there you go. You've got this nice little cutaway going on the inside there, where you've got two cuts that are intersecting each other. And let's do the same with this rectangle slot way. So let's go rectangle on this face. There we go. Two there. Again. Ooh. Make the box a little bit bigger. Oh, I've got some construction geometry there that I forgot to get rid of. There we go. And I'm going to extrude that. By the way, you can also use the push-pull. Push-pull will let you pick, if I can pick it, there he is. You can pick a rectangle or a solid object that is a closed loop, and it will let you pull it through like so. And then again we can extrude it, so subtract it. So subtract what I want to cut from, what I want to cut with, and there we have it. Nicely done. Okay, so it's all coming together quite nicely. Let's get rid of that construction rectangle. Okay, I think the last part then is to put these two holes in the top here. Now you can see clearly that there are holes in the top, but it's also not showing you holes in the bottom, so we can only assume that the holes are penetrating the top but stopping when it hits this cut circle, this hole that's going through. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to look dead on the top, and these holes are 48mm apart, okay, and they are 8 diameter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a circle which is diameter 8. Okay, I'm just going to turn this to 2D wireframe a minute. It's a little bit easier on my eyes, and then I'm going to copy this. There's the copy command. Doesn't matter where from. I'm going to copy it in that direction by 48. There we go. So they're 180 degrees apart and they're 48mm apart, so that's fine. And all I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw a line. Oops, missed the L. There we go. Create a line on that face, but I also want to do it as the center. There we go. From one center to another center. There we go. So the reason I'm creating this line between the two is because it's given me a line that has a midpoint there as well, so we can use the midpoint to our advantage. We can move these circles and their line now with the midpoint in mind, and hopefully if I just orientate this a little bit better, I should be able to. No, I can't snap off anything there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another line from the center of this object straight up. Okay, this is all going a bit mad on my screen. Let's just orientate this a little bit better. I might turn on hidden detail so we get rid of the lines that we can't normally see. Okay, so you can see there I've actually drawn this line on the back of the face of the object rather than the front. All gets a little bit confusing in AutoCAD. It's not so confusing in Inventor, so hopefully when we get to that this will be a lot easier. So you can see there I've got this line across. Let's find what do we want to do here. Okay, so there's lots of ways of doing this, but obviously I've chosen a way, so let's go for this. Let's go put a line across there, so we've got a way of finding the center. Let's turn this back to 2D wireframe, and let's move these like so. Now the only problem is that has that lifted my circles. Yes, it has lifted my circles off of their faces, which is a little bit annoying. Okay, but that's not a problem because at least they're now in the center, and all I need to do now is make sure that they're centered with respect to where they are in the Z plane. Z is it a plane? No, Z direction, Z axis. Sorry, that was the word I was looking for. Okay, so let's move from the midpoint. Go snap to that. No, it's not doing any of this. Okay, right. Let's grab all of that, and we're going to move it from there. No. You know what? Sometimes I do wish that I do like a mock run before I do this, because sometimes these puzzles can be a little bit overwhelming. So there's a bit of a pain. What's happened there is I'm struggling to find a point to snap to. So again, what I might do is just put on some construction geometry. So on this surface, let's just put in a line to work with. Okay, let's move this from there. Oh, I saw it then. There he is, midpoint. It's not the midpoint. Perpendicular. That's where I want. Okay. So, if I've done my job properly, I should be able to remove that middle line, like so. And if I do a distance from the center there to the center there, it's 48, that's fine. Center to the outside is 8, and the same from this center to there is 8. So they are dead center in the Z, they're dead center to where they should be, and they're in exactly the right position. So perfect. Okay, let's go back to conceptual mode. Ooh, barely see where those circles are now. There they are. And we're going to extrude them both at the same time. So grab that circle and that circle, and we're going to go downwards through the object. I'm just going to orientate this a little bit better so I can see what's going on. There we go. Doesn't matter how deep the extrude is, as long as it's going through the top face of this outer profile and not through the bottom face of that circle. So around about there, 18 would be fine. So I'm just going to type in 15 just to make sure I don't go over the top. There we are. And again, we're going to extract that material by using the subtract command. Subtract big object and my two littler objects. There we go. Ta-da! Okay, and that's it complete. So that is the shape that we want to create. It doesn't actually take too long in AutoCAD, but it's not my tool of choice. Now you might be thinking, well, what is the point of creating something like this in AutoCAD? Well, for one, it's accurate. You can see there we've gone from almost fag packet design. No, don't get me wrong, this is probably good for the day if somebody drew this up on a drawing board without a CAD system. This is actually very good, but nowadays everything's done on a computer system. It's far cleaner, it's far more accurate, and it's consistent. So obviously over time, if you're making changes to these objects, and I have to admit AutoCAD is quite limited in what you can do to undo the things that you've changed, so we won't go into that too much. But one of the things you can do very quickly on this is go into layout space, and the first thing that you'll see is that you can create a viewport. It's already created a viewport for me anyway, but you should also be able to go into views. I just need to change this back to drafting and annotation mode a minute, and in here you should have a view option, or is it parametric? No, it's layout. That's it, layout. And you can create what's called a base view. And a base view is created from a model space environment, which is what we were just designing in, and it creates a view that you choose. It takes a little while for it to load, and then you can create your projected views, your section views, your detailed views off of that base view. So all of the legwork that you would do to create a drawing like this one, if you were to create the drawing, the elevation for the left, the front, the top, the side, the center line, the cross section, all of those views, you can do it automatically in AutoCAD. So here you go, you can see that it's picked up what we are calling the front, which is actually, I'm not going to flip over because it's actually yes I can. Let's just go back to models view a minute. So the front on our view cube, oh, I still in a command? Okay, no, my computer is just responding very slowly at the moment. So you can see there that the bottom of this shape is actually what I would consider the front, and if I can get it to orientate itself properly, there we go. So this is what we would consider the front, or potentially, actually, if I just flip this 180, okay, take time out a second. Let's just find out what my computer is doing. Oh, I've got plenty of hard drive space, and I've got plenty of resources. This could be just an AutoCAD issue. I'll plan to cut this bit from the video if need be. Okay, so if we wanted to consider this the front, what we should be able to do is right click our view cube and set the view cube up so that this is our home view, or potentially our front view. But what we can do, because of just doing this as a quick tutorial, is we can be aware that this is the bottom view. So let's go back to layout space and let's create our base view from model space, and we'll tell it that we're interested in the bottom, which is there. Okay, you see it's popped up. What I'm going to do is just click on it there, and then I'm going to rotate it, which I might need to do afterwards. So yeah, and it's automatically gone into projected view mode, which I don't need for the minute. I'm going to grab that and I'm going to rotate the thing around. There we go, 180 degrees. So it's the right way around. There we go. So straight away, it's drawn the front face. If we then project this view, you've got the left elevation, you've got the top elevation, and you can have an isometric as well. So once you're happy with that, okay, you can then go ahead and start dimensioning those up, position them the way you want. You can even change how much detail is being shown. So you can see that this is defaulted to hidden line view. So if I click on that and say edit the view, I should be able to change it to hidden lines, and I can say only show me visible lines, for instance, and you can see that that's inherited in the children view. So because I changed the base view, these objects now are just the same as their base. Okay, so it's automatically updating it because this is switched on, and this auto update extends to the fact that if I change something in model space, these would update automatically as well. And just to show you what's going on, if I annotate this now and put on a dimension, say for instance one that we know, for instance the distance between the two holes, 48. So what I can do there is put a dimension between that center and that center, and sure enough there's our 48. So by breaking a drawing up, or sorry, a model up into a drawing like this, it means that you're no longer confronted with this massive number of dimensions all being flung at you at once. And now in this circumstance it actually helps us out because it means we can model this very quickly without having to look at different different views. But for manufacturing purposes, somebody's going to want to see the different orientations, and it doesn't hurt having an isometric on screen so that you can see quite clearly what you're trying to create. I mean, the real beauty of 3D is just the fact that once you've built it, you can change it, although in AutoCAD it's a little bit more difficult, but you can also orientate it, create 3D DWF files, which are design web format, which means that you're able to pass this to a customer or to a client or to just a friend who's got a 3D printer. They should be able to open this up, spin it around, work out its mass, work out its volume and a few other bits and pieces, even its center of gravity as well. And there's lots of things you can do with it. So so yeah, that pretty much covers all I wanted to cover today. Hope you liked this first tutorial. If people do, give it a like, subscribe if you want to. I haven't really made a presence on YouTube yet, because this is my first video, my first proper video anyway, of a tutorial. So if you do like it, suggestions in the comments below certainly. If you have got material that you want me to sort of CAD up and show you how to do it in AutoCAD, in Inventor, or in SolidWorks when I have got the know-how. I'm starting to get into SolidWorks, but hopefully it will take off in a big way, and I'll be able to show you all this stuff. So if you're interested in this, let me know. If you're not, if you want me to change subject, change to something different, obviously CAD related, but you know, different area of CAD, then let me know and I will do what I can. So thank you guys, and see you next week.